So we did Powerful Teaching, Unleash the Science of Learning. It was a great book recommended by the fabulous Mr. Lawson. You should read it. We all loved it. So it was basically about retrieval practices, practicing pulling out what you remember. The retrieval practices help the students be just less anxious, and it was a 72% less anxious because they remember it. Instead of being scared of not remembering it, they felt comfortable pulling back what they knew. That's slow. So there were about, 15 different strategies that we looked at, and going through them, we either tried some in the classroom, or we read about them and decided to try them next year in the classroom. And going through them, the first one that we had was the brain dumps, and this was my favorite one. And it was basically you just write down everything you can remember. You dump it out of your brain. But because I didn't want to call it, I didn't want to say taking a dump in class, we renamed it Brain Drain, which is one of the things they recommended. And we tried it in class, and we've done it online through Canvas, and the kids wrote a whole lot. Obviously the kid on the right wrote a lot more. She always did, but the kid on the left was a typical not a good writer. The two things that you can remember, you just stop when what you're talking about. You have them write 2 things about a specific prompt, either what you're learning about now or what you learned already, and then you just move on. And then the kids can keep them for notes or small group discussions or not. They just move on. And then retrieval thinking, it's just pulling out what they remember from, it's notes, but it's a closed book. So you give them basically a template, but they just see what they can remember from the lesson. All right, next one.
Right, then I had the retrieval guides. So everyone needs time to think and learn, and this was kind of designed for students to read something and then pull out after they have read. Also mini quizzes. The big thing with mini quizzes, it's no grade, it's low stakes. It teaches the kids that it's okay to make mistakes. That's how we learn. They get 5 questions or clues, they try to come up with an answer, and then you give the feedback immediately so they know, oh, I was right or I was wrong. And then weekly quizzes was a great way for teachers to see where they were and where the kids were. So it's retrieval practice. It's given at the beginning of the week instead of the end, and it was 3 questions to kind of springboard into the week.
I had pre-tests. They're teacher-led multiple choice questions. They're no stakes, so it's not even something you'd have to grade. They suggested using clickers, and you can give immediate feedback to the students that way and discuss. Then there's a couple games, the dice game, where students are in small groups and they get a numbered list of similar vocab words. One student will roll a die or dice, and they have to answer the number that they have rolled, and the other students provide feedback to that student. And then there's the fishbowl strategy. So you write past and current topics on slips of paper and put them into a fishbowl or a hat, etc. And then a student draws a slip randomly and answers it.
I had the lightning rounds, student create list. The students called out the concept at random, and the student retrieve and write their answers. Then the teacher gives feedback. I'm sorry. And then the retrieval cards is another strategy. Student will retrieve an answer and write it down on one side of the card. And then the students are learning to turn the traditional flashcard and making process into a powerful retrieval process. The last one was four steps to metacognition. It's a boost learning by providing the opportunity for students to know what they know and know what they don't know. So that was my.
So with metacognition sheets, one of the things that the teacher can do is to provide a little bit more of a scripted handout so that you're going to ask them to mark the things that they know and the things to identify. Another thing is breathe and retrieve. And what you're asking the students to do is take just a moment and to decide after answering a question, do they know it? Do they have it have they nailed it or not? Metacognition lineup is they're making a judgment about how well do they know what's happening. And so do they know it? Are they not quite sure if they know it, or they know they don't know it? And they spread themselves up, and then they can meet with someone either near them or far away from them. This was a fantastic book. We recommend it. As you see, there's a lot of really just hands-on things that you can use in your classroom. The great thing is that many of them just use paper. And so this was just a fantastic book, and we highly recommend it. And that's right.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
All right.
All right, we're done recording.